Good morning. You're watching Business World Live here on One News. I'm Jess De Los Santos. Let's go straight to our banner story. Inflation likely accelerated in October on the back of the surge in oil prices as well as a spike in food costs. A Business World poll of 21 analysts yielded a median consumer price index estimate of 4.9%, faster than the actual figure of 4.8% in September and 2.5% in October 2020. The October estimate falls within the 4.5 to 5.3% forecast given by the Banco Central. They've realized inflation will exceed the 2 to 4% annual target range set by the BSP for the third straight month. Analysts said supply issues brought by last month's severe tropical storm Marie may have caused food prices to accelerate at a faster pace. Agriculture damage from the storm has amounted to at least 1.74 billion pesos. Analysts also noted that the surge in global oil prices also contributed to the faster inflation last month. Inflation figures will be released on Friday, November 5th. Meanwhile, gross borrowings by the national government reached 2.6 trillion pesos as of end September. This as the government continued to raise funds for its pandemic response. Gross borrowings in the first 9 months went up by 15% versus the same period last year. Broken down, gross domestic borrowings reached almost 2.1 trillion pesos. That's up 22% from a year ago. Gross external borrowings in the 9 months to September, meanwhile, reached 506 billion pesos, a decline of almost 8% year on year. Meanwhile, the national government's outstanding debt rose to almost 12 trillion pesos as of end September. That's 27% higher than last year's figure as the peso depreciated against the US dollar. This year, the government plans to borrow 3 trillion pesos from local and foreign sources to plug the deficit, which is seen to reach 9% of GDP. Okay, the local market closed in observance of All Saints Day, but elsewhere in Asia, trading resumes. You have stocks climbing across the region. This is investors' stake in the results of the Japanese elections. You have the Nikkei and the Topics both up. You have the Topics up by 1.6%. The Nikkei, however, also surging 2.25%. This as Liberal Party and Prime Minister Fumio Kishida maintained majority vote, preventing a worst-case scenario and clearing the way for more fiscal stimulus for Japan. The rest of Asia, at least keeping track of those gains. We have the Kospi also up by 0.5%. Aussie stocks here, the S&P also in the green, increasing by 0.6%. A number of Chinese stocks, of course, also closed today, but the Hang Seng at least is in the red, down 0.4%. You have more caution, of course, on China. This is a purchasing managers index points to further weakness in the economy. That's due to power shortages, rising commodity prices, and COVID controls. Let's see how the PSEI will be keeping pace as trading resumes tomorrow. But looking at how we performed, at least for the month of October, a fairly good month here for the local index here, up by 1.5%, climbing past gains made in September at 1.4%. We peaked at 7,326, as you can see in this chart right there. That was back in October 21st, but we went downhill from there, ending the month at 7,054. This as the country loosened restrictions, not just in NCR, but several other parts of the Philippines, with the alert level system at least being introduced in provinces. Case counts also posting 5-month lows here to around the 3,000 level. Now, Anseto Pangan of Timson Security says that the gains in shares were offset by rising global prices in oil, which reached $80 per barrel. That, of course, over here resulted in 9 straight weeks of oil price hikes. Pangan says markets are expected to move upward still in November. That's amid volatility. One counter, though, surpassed the gains made by the bellwether. I'm talking about the mining counter, which for October rose 8.8%. No small things to gains made by Semirara, which netted a 4 billion peso net income in the third quarter, and over a 9-month period, net income, look at this, rising by 244% to 10.3 billion pesos. That's on the back of coal prices remaining elevated due to a shortage in China and around the world. One other major development, of course, for the mining sector, you have the government ready to lift the ban on open pit mining just months after the moratorium on new mining projects was scrapped. Recall that back in 2017, under the helm of late former Environment Secretary Gina Lopez, the practice was banned due to adverse impacts on the environment, but that reportedly is going to be reversed due to losses in economic opportunities. Now, to talk more about that sudden shift in government policy and open pit mining, we have Environment Undersecretary Jonas Leones. Good morning, Yusek Jonas.
Good morning, Jester, and to your televiewers.
Thank you for joining us. So, why the sudden shift? I mean, primarily, this is built on the premise that we're looking at economic opportunities. Had it been, though, that we're not in an economic rut due to the pandemic, would you even be considering this change? So, again, what caused a sudden shift here?
Yeah, first things, Jess, we need to, because of the pandemic, we need to identify sources of revenue so that our economy can recover. And one source that we are looking into is the tapping of our mineral resources. Jester, we have less than at least 3% of our minerals are just are only tapped. So we need to take advantage of these mineral resources and ensure that we can move forward our economy. Uh, I remember you said a while ago that during the time of Secretary Gina Lopez, um, she suspended the mining operation, particularly because of the distractions brought about by mining operations. But I think with this new system we are adopting, the what we call the progressive rehabilitations, wherein there will be no more prolonged exposure of disturbed lands. I think this will address now both the economic, the environmental destruction, and at the same time we can assist or help our economy to recover. Jester.
Okay, first, you mentioned 16% of mineral resources are only being tapped. Am I
Yeah,
correct in
that's
understanding that?
correct.
So, by
Yeah.
opening, by at least lifting the ban on open pit mining, by how much will that increase?
Actually, it's not open pit mining per se is the problem, because the president has just issued EO 30, wherein he is now lifted the moratorium on accepting mining operation. Open pit mining is just one minor
Mhm.
issue because it involves the methodology in extracting our mineral resources. So if we believe that there are a lot of methods that we can adopt that are less destructive in extracting our mineral resources. And if we pursue that kind of direction, I think we can address the environmental concerns of our non-government organizations.
Okay, good thing also that you mentioned earlier about a new progressive approach, at least when
Mm.
it comes to open pit mining. I mean, back in 2017, primary concern was, of course, environmental distractions. I'm about to ask, how do you try to balance that, of course, with economic goals here, revenues, of course, that you are expecting as you lift open pit mine, but the ban on open pit mining. So, what best practices and technologies are at least are we going to put in place?
Um, well, at the time, I remember at the time there was laxity in implementing our environmental laws, but I guess all our environmental laws were already in place at the time. Just a matter of really enforcing these laws, no, to make sure that there will be environmental protections. That's the reason why our Secretary Simato now. Um, Created an office that will whose main purpose is really to enforce our laws. No, we have the enforcement service right now that would make sure that all our laws are being implemented. At that time, mining operations are really shall we say, not much concern about environment. They do not invest, do not like to invest in environmental uh, compliance because it is costly. But now, with our lesson during the suspension in the mining chambers, notice that we can only sustain our economic growth if we can also sustain our environmental protection. So I think with the lessons they experienced during the suspension during the time of Gina Lopez, they we can now our chambers are beginning to invest on environmental conservation and protection, and they're even assisting the government in really restoring some of our natural resources, our forest. So I think it's different now, Jester.
Okay. Now, just as we again open the doors and open pit mines here in the country, how much of a revenue are we looking at here? How many facilities are we expecting to open? The job opportunities that it's going to generate.
Now we cannot really yet project. No, we have big projects that are coming. They have completed the process, but as of now, there are a lot of applications. But we can only identify the big prospect in revenue if they have already completed the process. But as
Mhm.
of now, we have two big mining companies that are about to start.
Mhm.
I remember the Tampakan will be starting their operation, and I think one big I just forgot the name of that company. There are two big tickets now, Jester, that we're looking into that they will be starting. But we have received a lot of applicants now.
Mhm.
They are now complying with the documentations, and I think it really blows. I don't have the figure yet, but I think with these mining investments, I think there will be a dent in our contribution to the economic sector, Esther.
At least do you have an area, at least, do you at least have an idea as to which areas these big ticket projects are at least hoping to operate in?
I think in Mindanao, in Cotabato, I think the Tampakan is located in Cotabato, Davao, and I think Region 13, Caraga. And there are also a Silangan mining. I think Silangan mining is also in Mindanao. So
Mhm.
most of these big tickets are in Mindanao because these are the resources. But we have applications in some other regions like in Benguet, in
Mhm.
probably in Region 8. So these are the some of the regions that there are big prospects in the mining operation.
Okay, so you said give us updates on the draft. What's the timeline here? What are your targets?
We have to. No, we have to. We are now. The draft is now being subjected to consultation, Jester. We just finished our review of the draft with the policy technical working group. There were lots of comments, and they are now MGB is now incorporating all these comments. And after this technical working group, we will be subjecting this draft to the consultation with the different stakeholders, the mining chambers, and non-government organizations, and see how we can move forward this open pit mining methodology. But just to clarify, Jester, this is not a guide. This is not a draft implementing strictly the open pit mining as we
Mhm.
have known it. These guidelines will also not only the open pit mining, but we will be identifying some other alternative methods in extracting the minerals because
Like what other
different,
methods you think?
different kinds of minerals requires a different kind of extraction. So in this kind, what you're showing is the contour and the contour method, the open pit mining. But we have also underground mining
Okay.
operation, Jester. So under this draft, we will be proposing other strategies on how to extract different kinds of minerals, Jester.
Okay, last question. Just to give us an update. Of course, just months ago, the ban again on new mines was lifted. How many projects at least have started for the time being?
Yes, the the president has already issued EO 30, lifting a provision in EO 79 issued by President Aquino, the lifting of moratorium for acceptance of mining mining applicants. So as of now, we have identified at least 20 to 30 applications now, and they are now complying with these are legitimate these are legitimate applications. There are a lot of applications, but of course we need to look at the profile and the capability to undertake
Mhm.
big concessions. So as of now, we're looking at the 30 mining applicants, but of course it depends on how they can immediately submit all the requirements for these mining operations. But it will take I think 2 or 3 years more before they can really start operation if they comply now the submission of these documents, Jester.
All right, thank you very much for those updates. Again, Environment Undersecretary Jonas Leones. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jester. Thank you.
Here are other headlines we're keeping our eyes on. Moody's Analytics expects to see sustained improvement in the country's household consumption in the near term. That's on the back of slowing daily infection rates of COVID 19. The economic research firm noted the effects of mobility restrictions in the third quarter hurt household spending and broader domestic demand. However, Moody's Analytics senior Asia Pacific economist Katrina L said that vaccination coverage must still increase to further reduce the aggressive movement controls of the government. Household spending in the Philippines grew by over 7% year on year in the second quarter after declining by more than 15% in the same period last year. While in 2020, household consumption fell by over 8%, that's amid prolonged lockdowns. Now, the World Bank says the pandemic will push more children into learning poverty, especially in countries like the Philippines. Citing the preliminary analysis of an upcoming World Bank report, the Philippine Star said that learning poverty in many countries could reach around 70%. Learning poverty is defined as being unable to read and understand a simple text by the age of 10. The multilateral lender said the rise of learning poverty is a result of prolonged school closures and poor learning outcomes. That's despite government efforts to deliver remote learning. Globally, schools were forced to close down in 2020 due to the pandemic, but many countries have started reopening them since early this year. In the Philippines, in person learning has yet to resume. And that's a first look into the business day this Monday, November 1, 2021. Catch Business World live again at 3:15 p.m. today. I'm Jess De Los Santos, and we are One News. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.